Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz. 20 million barrels a day, gone. Now the Gulf is asking, what if we just went around Iran entirely? Saudi Arabia's forgotten Cold War pipeline is running at full capacity. Netanyahu wants new routes to the Mediterranean. There's just one problem. The math doesn't work, and the pipelines can burn too. For decades, the Strait of Hormuz has been Iran's ultimate insurance policy. A narrow waterway through which roughly 20% of the world's oil flows, and which Tehran can threaten to close whenever it wants leverage. Since the war began on February 28th, it has done exactly that, sending global energy markets into a tailspin. Now, for the first time, the Gulf's oil producers are asking a serious question. What if they simply went around it? Saudi Arabia has already taken the first step. Its 1,200-kilometer east-west pipeline, built in the 1980s after the Iran-Iraq tanker war, and largely forgotten since, is now running at full capacity, pumping 7 million barrels a day to the Red Sea port of Yanbu. Aramco's chief executive told analysts last month it is the main route that we are capitalizing on right now. The kingdom is now weighing whether to expand it further or build entirely new routes. Among those watching closely is Maysoon Kafafi, a senior advisor to the Atlantic Council's Middle East programs, who says the mood across the Gulf has fundamentally changed.
I'm sensing a shift from hypotheticals into operational reality. Everyone is looking at the same map, and they are drawing the same conclusions.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went further on April 1st, publicly calling for pipelines to be built all the way to the Mediterranean coast.
Long-term solutions include rerouting energy pipelines westward across Saudi Arabia to the Red Sea and Mediterranean, bypassing Iran's geographic choke point. Reducing reliance on the narrow waterway is essential for global energy security.
But the arithmetic is brutal. The combined capacity of all existing alternative pipelines sits at roughly 9 million barrels a day. Before the war, 20 million barrels a day passed through Hormuz. There is no combination of pipes currently in existence that closes that gap. And pipelines, as one energy analyst reminded Al Jazeera, are not safe either.
Pipelines and pumping stations are static, high-value targets.
Voloshin noted that Houthi drones struck the east-west pipeline's pumping stations as recently as 2019. The same threat exists today, with Yemen warning it stands ready to open a new front in the Red Sea if the war escalates further. So Iran has not lost its edge. Not yet. The pipelines buy the Gulf some breathing room, but as long as the war continues, Tehran still has its hand on the tap. But for how long? A 6-story apartment building collapsed in central Tel Aviv on the afternoon of April the 1st, injuring 2 people and damaging 4 apartments. Israeli security officials were quick to say it had nothing to do with the Iranian missile strikes that had hit the city that same morning. Emergency services were still working to determine whether anyone remained trapped under the rubble. One woman was treated at the scene for moderate injuries by Magen David Adom paramedics. The clarification may have been technically accurate, but it did not make Tel Aviv feel any safer. The city had already taken the brunt of 4 out of 7 Iranian missile salvos earlier that morning, leaving 16 people wounded across central Israel. By the time the building came down, residents had spent the better part of the day moving between shelters, watching smoke rise from impact sites and waiting for the next siren. They did not wait long. By afternoon, Yemen's Houthi rebels announced they had carried out their third missile attack on Israel, firing a salvo of ballistic missiles at what it described as sensitive targets in southern Israel. Spokesman Yahya Sari said the operation was conducted jointly with Iran and Lebanon's Hezbollah.
Our armed forces, with the help of Allah Almighty and in reliance upon Him, carried out the third military operation in the Holy Jihad battle, which targeted with a salvo of ballistic missiles sensitive targets of the Israeli enemy in southern occupied Palestine. The operation was carried out jointly with our Mujahideen brothers in Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon, and by the grace of Allah, successfully achieved its objectives.
The Houthis have been firing at Israel since late March, and their involvement has effectively opened a third front alongside Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. From their position controlling large parts of northern Yemen, including the capital Sana'a, the group has the range to strike Israel and the ability to threaten shipping through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, one of the world's most critical maritime choke points. Air raid sirens sounded across southern Israel as a new front in the conflict appeared to open. For the first time in the current war, a ballistic missile launched by Houthis directly targeted Israeli territory. Sirens were activated in Beersheba and surrounding towns after the Israeli military detected a missile launch from Yemen. According to the Israel Defense Forces, the missile was successfully intercepted by air defense systems and no injuries were reported. The strike marks the first direct attack on Israel by the Iran-backed Houthi movement in this phase of the conflict. The group had previously launched dozens of missiles and drones at Israel and maritime targets following the October 7, 2023 Hamas attacks, but largely halted such operations after the October 2025 ceasefire with Hamas. The renewed attack comes amid rising regional tensions, following nearly a month of intensified military activity involving the United States and Israel against Iran and allied groups. In a statement, Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Sari warned that further escalation could trigger direct military intervention.
In light of the continued aggression by the American and Israeli enemy against the Islamic Republic of Iran, Palestine and Gaza, Iraq and Lebanon, in implementation of the Zionist plan, which threatens the entire nation, the Yemeni armed forces, keen on the stability and security of the region and the cessation of aggression, affirmed the following. First, the necessity for the American and Israeli enemy to respond immediately to international diplomatic efforts to halt the aggression against Iran and the countries of the Axis, as it is an unjust, oppressive and unprovoked aggression that harms stability and security at the global and regional levels and damages the global economy.
The Houthis also issued a direct ultimatum, listing 3 more scenarios that would trigger what they called direct military intervention.
Second, the necessity of an immediate cessation of aggression against Muslim countries in Palestine, Lebanon, Iran and Iraq, and the lifting of the unjust siege on Yemen. Third, the necessity of implementing the Gaza Agreement and fulfilling the obligations it includes regarding humanitarian entitlements and the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people.
They also drew a red line over the Red Sea, warning they would not allow it to be used for operations against Iran or any Muslim country.
Fourth, we affirm that our fingers are on the trigger for direct military intervention in any of the following cases: the joining of any other alliances with America and Israel against the Islamic Republic of Iran and the axis of jihad and resistance; The use of the Red Sea to carry out hostile operations by America and Israel against the Islamic Republic of Iran and against any Muslim country, which we will not allow. The continuation of the escalation against the Islamic Republic and the axis of jihad and resistance, as dictated by the theatre of military operations.
The statement characterized its position as a legitimate response to what it described as coordinated aggression by Israel and the United States. It also emphasized regional cooperation and resistance, with the stated aim of countering what it sees as destabilizing actions. It further cautioned against any increase in pressure on Yemen, including tightening of blockades. While the intercepted missile caused no casualties, its significance lies in what it represents: a potential expansion of the conflict. With Yemen signaling readiness for deeper involvement and tensions already high across multiple fronts, the risk of further escalation remains.